Yeah, I think we've Shane Kingston here, and you might have to turn on your camera there, Shane. Okay, so Shane will come in now in a second. There he is. How are you, Shane? So, Ayr Ambassador and Cork hurler Shane Kingston. So, last month, Ayr was unveiled as a new sponsor of the GA Hurling All-Ireland Senior Championship. The 5-year deal, which was announced on November 30th, further cements the long-standing relationship between Ayr and the GA, highlighting the synergies that exist between hurling, the world's fastest field sport, and Ayr, which is committed to providing full-fibre, super-fast broadband to over 1.9 million homes and businesses across Ireland. Shane, we're just talking about the Ballyhale victory over Ballygunner yesterday. Did you watch the match, and what did you make of it?
I've actually only watched the second half. I'll watch it later tonight.
Well, the bit you did watch, what did you make of it?
Oh yeah, sure, it's unbelievable. Two unbelievable teams, in fairness.
So what distracted you from watching the game?
I was out the night before.
At least you're honest, man.
Yeah.
You said, because I was chatting in a previous interview earlier on, Shane. You said you watched the first half of the World Cup and you got tired. So I was. My ears did pick up. I wanted to know how you got tired, but there's an obvious answer.
That was the reasoning.
So, and what sort of development did you get up to? Where were you the night before?
We just had a team night out, so we were out. So we had a few drinks. But yeah, I had no interest in the World Cup anyway, to be honest. So
why not?
Watching that regardless.
Is there any sports you are into outside of hurling?
Yeah, I watch football. I probably watch rugby as well. I just find it hard to watch the soccer. It's a bit slow, even though the World Cup ended up being an unbelievable game. So I kind of wish I did watch it, but there's nothing worse there when it's 1-1 for 90 minutes. You're like, oh my god.
So, can you tell us what it was last night out with the Cork lads, or was it the Douglas lads, and what's it been like going back with Pat Ryan?
Just a few Cork lads. Yeah, we just went out and had a few drinks. But yeah, we're training away now. So, going all well so far. Training hard, as you can imagine now this time of year. So, nearly looking forward to the break now next week.
Yeah, and did you have Pat Ryan before, or were you were just a couple of years too old for him? Were you?
No, I had Pat in 2017.
Okay.
I actually had him when I was younger as well for Tony Forrestal under 14 tournament. He was with us then, but so plenty of experience with Pat, and obviously he's had plenty experience with the under 20 teams over the last few years as well.
And how did you get on in that Tony Forrestal?
I think we lost the All Ireland. I think we lost the tip.
Ah, of course.
Yeah.
Don't ever give him a chance to smile. Just say you lost to somebody. Just say another or something like that.
We won.
You won, yeah. What's Pat like?
Sound. Yeah, we all have great time for Pat now, to be honest. So obviously we were delighted to have him back involved. We won the Munster Championship in 2017 and lost to Waterford in the All Ireland semi-final. So had a decent enough year that year. But yeah, I haven't really worked with him since. So obviously looking forward to the next few years, hopefully.
Yeah. And what sort of manager is he? Like, is he very different from, for example, obviously your dad and then maybe John Myler as well?
Yeah, I suppose, look, at the end of the day, everyone brings a different approach to it. But no, we all, like, Pat's very sound. I suppose he's a fella you can just go and talk to, really, and he'll do as much as he can to help you out in any way. But yeah, no, sure, he's a great hurling brain. So, we're lucky enough to have him back again.
Michael?
Just something we were chatting about you earlier on, Shane. I found it really interesting. You obviously saw how much effort and time your dad puts into it firsthand because you're obviously living at home. Just can you compare the demands of an inter-county player to a modern inter-county manager?
Yeah, I was only saying it earlier. I'll probably be reiterating the same points now again. But yeah, sure. Look, we arrive for training. If you're training at 6:30, 7 o'clock, you probably arrive between 5 and past. You go out, you do your training, come in, tog off, shower, food, and out the gap. Whereas I suppose when you look at it, who organises the pitches, who organises the lights, who organises the drills, the training session, the food. So like when you think about it that way, what seems a 2-hour thing for us, well, all in all, it's probably 3 or 4 hours. But by the time the training session being an hour and a half, I suppose it's probably a 7 and 8 hour of organisation before it. And that falls back on the management then. So yeah, like they definitely put in a lot more time than we would. And I don't think people probably realise that.
Was his phone always ringing? Is it a case of his phone is always ringing? Because when you're looking after, I don't know, I'm going to say the guts of about 36 players, and then at least half that size for a backroom team, probably the way things are now. That's a lot of people that you have to be linking in with. It's a lot of problems that people have. It's a lot of sickness that people have, and they're ringing you or ringing the manager. Which I'd imagine. I hope they weren't ringing the landline anyway. I hope you don't have a landline if they were ringing around.
No, they weren't ringing the landline anyway. But no, his phone was non-stop. Yeah. He'd be outside walking around the whole time. Didn't even put up his ear anymore. He was just having it on speaker, walking around, like just constantly on the phone. I don't know how anyone does it, to be honest.
Would just in terms of the year that you had with Cork, do you feel like it was one that kind of slightly got away because you had opportunities against Galway that day, and after the way you battered Tipperary, which I definitely don't want to bring up, but it seemed like okay, maybe you could pick up the year from there.
Yeah, I suppose. Look, obviously the Galway game was disappointing. We didn't start great. Lost to Limerick, lost to Clare, kind of turned around down in Waterford and Walsh Park, beat Tip, and then I suppose we were kind of building momentum then again. Then the Galway game, we actually didn't play bad. We just weren't the most accurate on the day. I think we came away with about 25 wides. So I suppose even if half of them went over, it was going to be a comfortable win. People would look at it as a negative and say, sure, Cork were shocking or whatever, but I suppose if you have 25 additional shots, it's lots, so we couldn't have been that bad. But yeah, obviously then it's disappointing then to lose a game like that when you feel you could have maybe even pushed on.
Yeah, I mean, people obviously talk about Cork and whether they're all Ireland contenders or not, but I would look at you and I think you have pretty much everything. Obviously, it has to be arranged in the perfect way to make sure you get past the big teams. But do you feel confident that you have the playing resources? Yeah,
absolutely. I probably speak on behalf of everyone in the group and probably every other inter-county team. You never really go out and think you're going to lose. So you're training so hard for such a long length of time that you have to be confident going into any game, no matter who the opposition are. So yeah, definitely. Obviously, I'd back everyone inside in our group. So I feel that, and everyone else would, that we have the players and the back room and everything to win.
Because Verney's always slating Cork, aren't you, Verney?
I wouldn't say I'm slating now. Just the way things are now, Shane. I'm offering you motivation going forward. You know what I mean? Everybody's always saying, like, Pat Hoban, the Ballyhale manager, came out yesterday and said they were written off in all quarters and this and that was questioned. So if people don't question you, then you don't have anyone to give answers to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's all the outside noise in here, so you could yap away.
Do you pay any attention to anything that goes on? Even your dad probably would have come under a bit of criticism as well. Is that anything that you notice or anything like that, or do you just try and block it all out?
No, you wouldn't take much notice, to be honest. Look, obviously in the I suppose the championship season, you wouldn't really be looking at the social media too much. You'd nearly be trying to avoid people, to be honest. So yeah, no, we kind of keep the outside out, I suppose, as you'd probably hear the term used a lot. So we wouldn't really focus too much on what people are saying about us.
Yeah, now, to be fair, after the Waterford game, Conor Lahan came out and said that they were answering questions that people had raised about them. So there definitely was some motivation there, no matter what you say.
Shane, there's a question in here saying, is there many Bars lads in with Cork? So, I mean, they had a great run this year, and maybe if that red card for Conor Cahalane hadn't happened, and I still think that was a bit harsh that he was more throwing the Hurley away and then caught the play.
Yeah, it looked like throwing the Hurley, right, wasn't it?
Yeah. But would some of those young lads, are they sort of the likes of Ethan Toomey, maybe Ben O'Connor, although I'm not sure, he's going down the rugby route, I'm not entirely sure, but would some of those lads be getting a run now?
Yeah, so we've obviously two Cahalans are there, Ethan Toomey's there, Ben Cunningham's in, Brian Hayes is in. I think that's it. Sure, obviously Ben O'Connor, the size of him, he's only going in doing his leaving cert anyway, so you can't be asking him in as well.
Just on that as well, Shane, would you be someone like Ben O'Connor who, he's playing rugby? I think he's playing senior schools rugby as well, and he's probably playing Harty Cup, or he's playing senior hurling as well. Would you be very aware of managing the load that a guy like that is doing. Like, you would have gotten a lot at a young age as well. I think you were called in Cork after your leaving cert too. There is a bit of a balancing act with guys like that about not giving them too much too soon as well, and having them kind of, not burnt out or anything like that, but having them even physically kind of fried by the time to get to 21 or 22.
Oh yeah, definitely. Sure, he's probably only about 18, I'd say. I suppose as much as we wouldn't want to say it, his priority right now should probably be the leaving cert. Obviously, at the time, you don't really care, but in the grand scheme of things, it should be the most important for the next couple of months. But yeah, obviously, look, the level he's playing at with the Bears, hurling and football, and on top of the rugby then and senior cup and that kind of stuff, his loading would have to be monitored, I'd imagine. Otherwise, the last thing you want is a fella like him getting burnt out and not being able.
With Douglas, we've kind of talked about a load of times on the show here that we always kind of felt that Douglas would come, that you've got, great playing resources and that sort of stuff. Do you think there's any particular reason in either code why it hasn't, taken off fully?
I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint. Really, I suppose in the hurling, I suppose I can only speak on the hurling because I haven't played football in so long.
Right.
Yeah, like we've been knocked out in the quarterfinal for the last 4 years. Everybody kind of talks about the good team we have, but I don't think it's as good as everyone makes it out to be. We don't have, the big names that we had a couple of years ago. And then, look, from the football perspective, I suppose Douglas football would be very strong if you had everyone, but that's not a conversation for here, I'd say.
So, just if we're to talk about other stuff, like, what's your first memories of hurling, and like, who were the players that had you fall in love with the game? Maybe even just watching the father, was it?
I don't even know, to be honest. It was probably something. I was just the same as everyone when I was growing up. I was doing everything: hurling, rugby, soccer, swimming, karate, hurling. And then as time goes on, you obviously notice you might be a bit better at something than the rest. So I kind of just stuck with the hurling, football, and soccer. Then it got to a stage then where I had to pick one, not pick one, but pick a sport. So gave up soccer, obviously. So I was probably just kind of forced into it, really. I suppose if it came to it again, I probably wouldn't have a choice. It'd have to be hurling.
Yeah.
But I kind of started off the same as most people, really, in the development squads and kind of just worked my way up. So, I wasn't really looking at anyone or being inspired by anyone. It was just the way it worked out, really.
The karate, was that your parents putting you in there because they knew you were going to be an inside forward and you had to be looking out against pesky cornerbacks?
Yeah, it could have been.
Just talk to me about how it's not the most like when you were saying you were doing all sports that most people are doing, soccer, rugby, football, and then karate is a bit different now than the norm, it'd be fair to say.
Yeah, do you know what? I don't even remember. It was so long ago. I did a bit of boxing then for a while. I was just staying active, really. I was just doing everything, and because my parents were running around like yo-yos and dropping us everywhere.
And were you the sort of guy who was like mad watching hurling as well as playing it? Were you one of these people obsessed by watching it, or were you able to, when you leave down to hurley, that was it?
When I leave down to hurley, that'd be it. Yeah.
Really?
I wouldn't be obsessed. I'd like to have a life outside of hurling as well. Like you need a time to relax.
So, what are the hobbies outside of hurling?
I'm working now, so there's not too many hobbies these days. Like watching TV, Netflix, meeting up with lads, meeting up with the missus. I wouldn't really be playing golf or anything too much. And the way things are with hurling at the moment, you're constantly on the go. So then when you're not, you kind of want to enjoy the break, while trying to maintain your physique to some extent. So just trying to keep fit in the gym and doing that bit of running, but I suppose trying to stay fresh and leave the hurley out of your hand until you're back training, really.
I thought you were going to say now that you were into video games or I don't know, chess or something.
Sometimes,
like that.
Yeah. I got a PlayStation there during lockdown the first time and got me through lockdown for a while, but I'm kind of falling out of it now again. It's a waste of time.
It is true, but it's good crack all the same. Look, Shane, great to have you on the show, and hopefully we'll be chatting again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks very much.
All the best.